I think whoever we are with is our soulmate for that time in our life. And it may end, and we may discover a new soulmate later. But every single person in our lives is put there for infinite reasons, infinite causes that led two people to be near each other. At the same time, they're both single. At the same time, they make eye contact and send a few flirty looks. And that person may not be right for that person for their whole life. That person may be there to show you what you don't want so that you can find that soulmate who is really meant for you for the rest of your life. So I think that every relationship we have is the universe putting a person in our life for a reason. And sometimes it's a stepping stone to something else. Sometimes it is eternal and it goes lifetimes into the future. But there's no mistakes. There's no chance of missing your soulmate. There's no need to worry or overthink it or feel like we're making some choice that we're going to regret later or doubt and wonder. Follow your feeling and trust your intuition and look for those signs from the universe that say this person is the one. The Beatles had it almost right. All you need is love, comma, and a non-abusive partner. If you have those two things, anybody can make it work. The problem is where people get confused about what love means. How do you show it? And there, of course, are many love languages. There's many ways to show it, but it all comes down to paying attention. And I think it's the greatest act of love we can give. And it covers every love language, because whatever you're doing, you're paying attention to your relationship. You're paying attention to the other person and their needs. And when divorce happens, it's usually because people drift apart, because they're not paying attention to each other. And they don't notice the slight divergence taking place. And then they look back a few years later and they are a mile apart. And the love is gone, the relationship is essentially over. And I think that as long as we see each other, honor and respect that we will grow in different ways, but we can weave around together as we grow and honor each other's growth, even if it looks different than our own growth, then we're always staying connected. And it's that connection that will prevent us from waking up one day going, who am I sleeping next to? Divorce is not failure. Not at all. We can't control the other person. We can 50% control the relationship, but we can 100% control ourselves. And sometimes we find out the person's abusive. Sometimes we realize that our values are not aligned. Sometimes we realize that we have totally different visions for our life. And there is no mistake. There is no regret. And divorce should be looked at as the greatest chance and opportunity to separate with that person who you know for certain is not right for you. That's all. It's not for people who aren't sure, who don't want to make it work. We should honor that commitment we make. But when we are 100% certain that this is not the right person, that I feel abused or that, there's no love at all and there's no willingness to try, then divorce is wonderful. And we should, it can be messy. It can be unpleasant. It can be difficult and destabilizing and full of worries, stresses, and doubts and fears, and a total change in how we've lived for decades. And that can be terrifying. But the process itself and the fact that a new life is totally open to us, it truly is a wonderful thing when all other options have been exhausted. One of the hardest things about divorce is when we have a partner who's been unfaithful or who's betrayed us in some way, or even just the act of divorce can feel like a betrayal. And then, on top of that, we have to see this person every week or even more often to see our kids, and there's co-parenting, and we have to have a relationship with the person who hurt us worse than any other person in our entire lives. And that contrast between madly in love to worst person I know makes that gap between the two enormous. It's worse than a stranger, robbing us. We went from don't know you to worst enemy. It's a huge gap when it goes from most dearest to most worst. And that is a huge challenge. And then on top of that, I think we all know that some people want to take everything. They want to destroy your life. They want to tell everyone you've ever met how bad you are. And, some people are dealing with a lot of mental things. And it's very unpleasant when, maybe you're abused and you want a divorce because you don't deserve abuse. And the other person gets so angry that they badmouth you to your own family. I mean, the sky is the limit to what a scorned, abusive person can do to us. And I would say cheating is a form of abuse. How do we deal with it? The first thing we have to do, especially when there is abuse, is to come to the understanding that they may try to ruin our lives. They may try to ruin our reputation. They may try to take everything we have. And once we accept that, whatever else happens can't be worse. And it's probably not going to be that bad. And we have to really face that fear and overcome it, because there's a chance we stay with an abusive partner because of these reasons. And so we really do have to get to safety, no matter the cost. We have to take the big chance. We have to strike out on our own. We have to face the fact we may have to rebuild our lives from scratch. That's okay. Everybody is at different places in life. And some people have it much worse, even after the divorce we've gone through. And they are living, and we can live. And once we just accept the situation, what it potentially means, and who they are, then it is much easier to deal with them. We have no false expectations that they'll change. We have no desire or need for them to be anything other than who they are. So there is no suffering when they're mean, when they try to keep our kid away, when they try to take all our stuff in the divorce. And so it's really essential that we kind of make peace with the worst that can happen. And that makes the process of finding out what's going to happen a lot easier. It's really tough, especially when there's kids involved, and oftentimes the spouse badmouths their other spouse to the kid and turns the kid against them. These are all real things that happen, real things that could happen. And the more we just accept this image of a perfect life we have was never real, and we weren't promised it, we can accept whatever comes, and we can stay at peace with it, not be surprised by it, and stop that really painful part, which is wishing for it to be different. Guilt and regret only serve a purpose when there's something we can do about it, when we can right a wrong, when we can fix a past mistake. But when the ink has dried on that divorce contract. And, it's very clear there's no going back. And we have to live with some mistakes that we made. Then it serves no purpose except for being able to go forward in a wiser way and not make those same mistakes again. And in that way, there's no such thing as regrets. There's no such thing as mistakes. And any time we're suffering from a regret or a mistake, what we are not doing is building a better life. We're actually destroying our lives. And instead, we need to get back to creating the life we want and not getting distracted by the past. It's there to teach us. It's there for lessons. And in that way, there is no negative experiences that we can have. There's just learning and growing. No one was born as a genius baby who can speak 10 languages and plays the violin. We're all born dumb and we're all in a constant state of learning and growth. And we can't look back and say, man, I was so stupid. I couldn't even talk when I was born. No, we don't do that. I couldn't even walk. We don't do that. We simply learn and grow and appreciate the progress and how far we've come. And one day we might stop being able to talk and stop being able to walk. And even then, we still just appreciate how far we've come. What full circle our lives have been. What a great story. We love those stories that have those nice little endings that tie back to the beginning. Instead of regret, use that to fuel you towards a better future. If you didn't pay enough attention, pay double attention in your next relationship. Get back out there, start meeting people, and build that relationship you wish you made. Do we have to forgive our partners after a divorce? No. We can still live a long life and get along just fine. If we try to force forgiveness, that will create even more tension. We see them getting remarried and we see them not giving us our child privileges like we're supposed to have. And we're like, forgive them. That's going to be making the problem so much worse. Any emotion or feeling that we fight against, that we force, or that we ignore and avoid, we block from flowing through us and out of us. So it's very important that we allow the anger. We don't judge it as bad. We allow hatred. Whatever is there, we allow it, because we're going to stop fighting with reality. And if we want to be happy, then we are going to find that doing the work towards forgiveness, which again doesn't mean getting angry at our hatred, but it means transforming it with love. It can take weeks or years, but over time, that pain lessens, and it becomes easier to have that space, look back, and see how it might have been for the best, to make peace with those painful moments, and to one day be able to drop that anger and hatred altogether. Don't rush it, but if the goal is to be happy, if the goal is to be free from that anger and hatred, then love and forgiveness really is the only way. And we can love our worst enemies. We can love abusers. We can love brutal dictators. It doesn't mean we condone it. It doesn't mean we approve of their behavior. It doesn't mean we put ourselves in danger. It just means we choose happiness over hatred. Now, that's not for everybody. But if we want to be truly happy, if we want to be free from the pain, the stress, the anxiety, the hurt, the PTSD, the trauma that it caused, then the practice of love and kindness towards them, not in person, don't give them a call, but the practice of developing love and compassion for all beings, from the people you love to the strangers you don't know to the people who wronged you, is the quickest ticket to Happy Town. Here are the 4 things I would say that a newly divorced person should make sure to do on their healing journey. Number 1 is love yourself. Go easy on yourself. Forgive yourself. Try to eat good foods and exercise and get sunlight and all that good stuff. But if you have a week where you are just down and you're maybe drinking or not taking care of yourself, accept that and be okay with that, because that's part of this. We're not perfect, and there will be times where we just need any pleasure we can find to survive. We're in survival mode, and allow yourself to fall and make mistakes. It's okay. And then as soon as you can, get back to taking care of yourself, taking care of your needs, and looking out for yourself and your loved ones. Number 2, lean on whatever support group you have. Your friends, your family, anyone you can talk to. It's very important, and I think that you'll be surprised at how many people will actually be there for you. People really like to help others. And sometimes we think we're all alone, we have to suffer alone, but a lot of people have been through this. There's probably support groups that you could be joining, and I think it's essential to find some companionship when we've lost the person closest to us. Number 3, start building the life you want for yourself. Start dating, even if it's totally uncomfortable and feels totally awkward and you don't feel you're ready. Just do it, because whatever you do and you repeat becomes familiar and comfortable. So right now, probably being alone feels comfortable, but the more we put ourselves out there, even when it doesn't feel right, even if we don't feel ready, the more that becomes our new normal. And the sooner we start building the life that we know is right for ourselves, finding that person who is truly right for us, and looking at that divorce through that lens of it being a blessing and how it's making way for something better to come, the sooner the healing can happen. And number 4 is what I call the kitchen sink method. The kitchen sink is where we throw all the leftovers. And in this instance, what we mean is try all the things: meditation, yoga, sunlight, nature, journaling, gratitude, affirmation, dancing. Try it all. See what works. Everybody's a little bit different, but if we try the kitchen sink method, we'll surely find something. Recently, like so many of us, I've experienced some tragedies in my life, some loss of some very close people. And that is what inspired me to write this book, Grief and Spiritual Healing, because the teachings I lay out here are what helped me survive and get through such a horrible time. And I hope that these teachings can help you and your loved ones as well. It's available on Amazon in print and Kindle, and all the profits will go to a nonprofit foundation to help other people grieving.